Welcome everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's session. We're here today to talk about AI strategies with Certinia PS Cloud. So for today's session, just so you know, we're going to cover a few quick notes about the platform. If you have any questions throughout this, there is a Q&A widget at the bottom of your console that we encourage you to put your questions in. We'll do our best to answer this. It is a roundtable discussion, so we should be able to tackle your questions as we go along. If for whatever reason we don't answer your question during the presentation, we'll do it at the end. So I'd like to start by doing a quick introduction to our speakers today. We have Issam, who is a seasoned solutions consultant with 19 years experience. He brings a wide range of experience in various domains, including pre-sales, marketing, product marketing, and sales. Issam's passion for crafting solution that fits customers' requirements is a major driver for his work. He focuses on Absolute's revenue practice, which includes Certinia solutions and Salesforce Revenue Cloud. We also have Stephen, who's an account executive. He has actually delved into many roles over the last 10 years, from development, professional services, and solutions consulting to his current role as an account executive with us. He has leveraged his technical expertise and solutioning adaptability to find a path forward within all his engagements while guiding his team. He's an expert in processes and best practices, leveraging insight from various industries such as energy and utilities, telco, manufacturing, and home services to support Absolute's customers in their evaluation and selection of solutions. And lastly, we have Joe Thomas, who's with us from Certinia. He is the global analytics evangelist. Formerly, he joined, I think, in 2017. He spent the last 35 years building, implementing, selling, and marketing analytic solutions to and for thousands of customers at companies ranging from Oracle, Apple, Merrill Lynch, and Autonomy. A little something about Joe. He lives in San Francisco, and when he's not discussing analytics, he loves travel, reading, and red wine, and just came back from Italy, so got to enjoy that.
All three. There you go.
Absolutely. So just quickly, our agenda for today, we're going to, talk a little bit about what does AI entail. Our roundtable discussion today is going to focus on where AI can be found in your organization, what is required for AI to succeed, and what use cases does a PSO have. We'll tell you a little bit about ourselves, more so how we can support you in your journey, and we'll end today's webinar with our Q&A panel. So today's moderator is Issam. So before I hand that off, we do have a little poll that we'd like to launch and ask the audience before we get into a roundtable discussion. And I think I can have Dominic or Issam hand that off. It's, where are you using AI? So is that in your personal life, your business life, a combination of both, or none? So while that's everybody's answering that poll, what I will do is hand this over to Issam to moderate this session today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Erica. I'm really excited to be here with everyone talking about this very important topic. And let's wait for everyone to answer the poll number 1. And as you can see on the screen, the question is about where are you using AI today, and whether it's your personal business or maybe a combination of both. And some of us are terrified of using it in the first place. So, share your answers, and let's close the poll. We'll give everyone maybe another 30 seconds or so. I can tell you from a personal experience, I do use it for both personal and business. So, I mean, at a personal level, I use it for grammar checking. I also use it in the business. I actually use ChatGPT to qualify and come up with content, whether for LinkedIn posts or even for documentation internally. However, I make sure that any business-related information is not shared with OpenAI or ChatGPT. I don't know about you, Joe. What are your thoughts?
I think we're all using it in a personal life, even if you don't think so. If you're using Amazon, if you're on Netflix, if you use autocorrect on your phone, you're using AI.
Good point. So I think we closed the poll down. Let's share the results with the audience. And as you can see here on the screen, the majority of us are using it in a a combination of both personal and business, which is in line with what we see right now in the marketplace. So thank you for sharing that with us today. All right, so moving along, and I think one of the key things that we want to talk about is AI, right? If you don't mind going to the next slide, Erica. One of the key things that we all keep hearing about is Gen AI, right? We always keep hearing about ChatGPT, Gen AI, and so on. And it's been a hot topic in the past 12 to 18 months, especially with with the rise of ChatGPT. And even yesterday, I was just chatting with the panelists. Yesterday, OpenAI actually shared a video on a real-time conversation with ChatGPT, which was awesome. But at the end of the day, everyone wants to get Gen AI, right? But that's not everything. When we talk about AI, we're talking about multiple aspects here. As a matter of fact, most of us are using it today with or without IT permission. We're using AI everywhere. Gen AI is one aspect of artificial intelligence, but it's not everything. Gen AI is all about creating something using machine learning. We're creating new content, whether that content is images, music, videos, or content for your PSO, professional services organization, whether it's proposals, summaries of your projects, and so on. But there are other two areas that are as equally important as Gen AI. And first of all, let's talk about descriptive AI. Descriptive AI focuses on using your vast data sources to run analytics, to describe and to analyze your data, and to provide insights. This is basically the cornerstone of venturing into AI, in our opinion, and you'll see more about this as we progress in this session on how you can utilize prescriptive or descriptive AI in your business. And then the other aspect is the predictive. So predictive AI this is the part of AI technology where you predict future outcomes based on what happened in the past. And then you guessed it, you need a large amount of data, or good clean of data, in order to generate meaningful predictions and outcomes. Now, needless to say, there are a lot of AI tools out there. But at the end of the day, those AI tools will render useless unless your organization has identified and defined your organization's vision, value, risks, and adoption strategies as well. And without them, your AI initiative will fail. So enough with the theory, let's discuss practical applications for those three areas of AI. And we're going to start with Joe from our partner, Certinia. And I believe, Joe, you'll talk to us about how Certinia incorporated AI internally at your organization.
Yep.
So let's talk about descriptive.
Sure. I'm just going to pause the two of you. I think it's Akin has their hand up. I was just wondering if, I know we were having some trouble with the screen sharing. It said it was sharing, and then a few people told me it wasn't. Is there something you needed or had a question immediately before we started?
No, it was the screen sharing. We were
great.
unable to see. Yeah.
Yeah, a few people let me know, and I'm like, it says it's sharing, but it's not. So I had to stop and restart. Thank you very much. Okay, so we'll go on with the discussion. My apologies, everyone.
No worries. All right, perfect. So everyone can see the screen now. And Joe.
Yeah, the wonders of technology. I think AI is on a similar hype cycle to collaboration technologies. And that's really where I'm going to go here. I grew up in the Bay Area. This is my fifth wave of AI hype cycles, right? It's I remember one. I'm old enough to remember one from the late 70s. I remember them in the 80s, the 90s. We saw a beautiful one in 2017 when I joined Certinia. There was really, the early models were coming out and going into open source. And at Certinia that was really when we started leveraging AI. So this isn't something new to us. We've been doing it for as long as my tenure's been at the company. And what we really were trying to take even back in 2017 was a pragmatic or practical approach, which is why we really started with descriptive. Getting data in order, getting data conformed, building a baseline of training data that then we could use to solve actual real world problems. For us as a SaaS company, our biggest challenge was churn. And we needed to throw a huge amount of data, both structured and unstructured, at some machine learning because looking at a bunch of unstructured and structured data in a spreadsheet wasn't going to do it for us. Trying to use a traditional BI tool wasn't going to do it for us because of the volume and variety of data. So we were able to build out some pretty interesting data sets using what was then known as the Einstein technology at Salesforce. It's had 7 different names since then, now currently known as CRMA or CRM Analytics. We created our own flavor of that for both our ERP and our professional service automation software in combination with our front office CRM, brought that data together. And we're able to see things that were incredible predictors for us around describing what were the pieces that could lead to churn. So we did a lot around making sure our data was conformed, that we were doing apples to apples comparisons, having the same definition of customer, having the same definition of what marketing spend meant, having the same definition of what late was in terms of payment or delivery, bringing all that together, bringing the data together, applying the right technology to it, and then using that information to make decisions. And we did. We were able to change definitions of what our ideal customer profile was because we saw certain customer types, for-profit education companies, for example, multi-level marketing organizations. These companies had much higher churn rates that led them to not being profitable for us as customers. So it changed behavior. We saw demographic data on sizes of customers and numbers of billable consultants. Where did it make sense for our software to be sold? So we were able to, from a descriptive standpoint, make tangible business changes that I can say significant in the above 50%, approaching 90% changes on our customer churn, which is the difference between life and death for a SaaS company.
Absolutely, that's very important. And given the fact that Certinia has a professional services arm, I mean, this is even adds more value to the discussions internally on how you move the business forward. So thank you, Joe, for that insight. Then let's now switch to talking about predictive AI, and I'm going to pull Stephen to the discussion. So, Stephen, where do you see predictive AI utilized in a PSO or a professional services organization these days?
Sure, Sam, and I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join our webinar. I mean, predictive AI has been around, for ages as well. I think, it's something as simple as just weather predictions, right? Like they're looking at models of wind, of cloud patterns, of storms, things like that, right? Same thing for earthquakes, same thing for volcanoes. And what's the theme here? It's a lot of historical data, right? As Joe mentioned, I mean, you need the data there, but you also need context to it, right? You need to be able to filter and sift and organize this data so that it's able to work for you in these predictions, right? Taking historicals and allowing it to predict your future outcomes. I think in a professional service organization, it's everywhere, right? Like understanding what is my demand that's upcoming, what is my capacity from my resource perspective, am I going to meet that demand? Do I have enough resources? Let's dive deeper. Do I have the right skill sets to support a certain engagement with the resources that I already have? Or do I need to skill up and start training and start cross-breeding some of my existing resources to perhaps not hire new ones, but to ensure that I'm able to, calculate and incorporate the resources that I have against a certain engagement that might be upcoming. So a lot of this is built around predictions and ensuring that your business is maintaining the velocity of growth and as well as scaling itself for future growth as well, right? There's that short term and long term. We're always looking at ourselves in this fiscal year or next fiscal year, but where are we going to be in 5, 10 years, right? Predictive models have that short-term impact as well as that long-term impact. A lot of this, though, based off of data for sure, but learning models are becoming extremely important nowadays. You have big learning models, you have small learning models. Traditionally, they've all been big, and that's a lot of processing power needed for that. And there has been a shift into these smaller learning models. It's great that the Salesforce and Certinia ecosystem allow you to bring your own model because you, as your business, you know what's going to work best for your predictions. So that's extremely important. At the end of the day, the last thing I'm going to say about this is start small if you haven't already. Identify a use case where you have amazing set of data to help with your predictions. Start small and then just iterate. This is an iterative process. It may not work on the first go. You might get some wacky results, but iterate, take the time to fine tune it, speak to others, right? Maybe start opening yourselves to other sets of data and putting context with this additional data to help bolster your predictions. So honestly, it's everywhere in our personal life, and it's definitely here moving forward in the next coming years in our professional life for a PSO as well.
That sounds great, and thank you for those examples, Stephen. So, Joe, from your perspective, from Certinia's perspective, what sort of, or how did Certinia tackle predictive AI for PSOs? And I believe we'll see some examples later on, but can you give us just a brief on
Sure. So, as you mentioned, we have a professional services arm within our business as well. We tend to focus on what we call smart starts, basically getting people up and running, implemented. When we first leveraged that descriptive AI, there were things that we learned from there that were incredibly helpful from a predictive standpoint. So first we got our data in order, we got it structured, we were able to describe behaviors and desired outcomes. And then we started leveraging what was still known as the Einstein discovery technology in conjunction with our services analytics piece to start making some predictions. We already talked about churn, but there's things that we did predictive around margin for products. We are a for-profit company. We like to provide professional services at fairly close to break even, but we do like to see some margin there. And there are things that you can see early in a project if you actually have your data in good set to be able to start seeing where margin might be impacted. Customer satisfaction, time delays and staffing around projects. There's a lot there that as you start getting, if you're running 10 to 20 projects a year, you can keep all that in your head. But once you start getting to that 50, 100, 200 projects, no one person's going to be able to keep it all in their head. And if 3 or 4 people are trying to do it, they're going to have 3 or 4 opinions, ideas,
right?
Modes of operation around this. So really using it from our standpoint to have a standardized predictive layer that can give us some baseline. Is it going to be perfect? No. But again, most of us are coin flipping on these things. That's 50-50. If we can get to an 80% accuracy rate, an 85% accuracy rate, you're already been doing better than 3 of your 4 competitors. So being able to get things around project margin, project costs, time to delivery, a lot of these pieces we found, and again, doing this in a closed loop standpoint, one of the amazing things we found was that just as simple as a 6-week delay in getting a customer live had a tangible impact on customer renewal 3 years later. And you just wonder, how is that? But it's an impression, it's time to value, it's things that can happen at the implementation cycle, have downstream effects 3 years later around renewal. So there's all sorts of interesting pieces. There's nothing that we've gone and productized that we haven't tried out on ourselves with our partners and with some early adopters as well. And I'll show you a little bit of that going forward. But we always alpha everything on ourselves. Because if it doesn't make sense to our business users and our partners, we don't think it makes sense to customers.
100%, and which brings us to the third aspect of AI, which is generative AI. One of the key aspects of generative AI is creating content, right? Everyone heard about ChatGPT by now. We've been talking about this for the past year or so. Everyone hears about it in the news, but obviously it is an important aspect of AI as well. As a matter of fact, we as the Absolute, as a company, as a professional services organization, we actually started that kind of discussion internally to see what sort of tools we need to run our business from an AI perspective. And obviously the first thing is we're looking at is the descriptive piece, but in addition to that, the generative AI piece. So we are going through that journey like every other PSO out there. And we'll talk about strategies or things to consider before you delve into these kind of topics. But before we talk about the strategies and what are the best practices, let's talk a little bit about examples for Gen AI. So I don't know, do you have anything you can share with us, Stephen? My apologies. Joe, can you share anything with us from a generative AI perspective, from a PSO domain?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as you said, automating content. And like every other professional services organization, we're constantly bringing in new people. And we try to use Gen AI to help upskill and I guess up-level your early stage employees. So what we do, anytime we have a meeting with a customer, we give them a summary of the meeting on a weekly basis, or if their cadence is quicker, we give them a project summary where we summarize what we believe the risks are and such. And we're leveraging Gen AI to sort of as a template, right? It's not going to do all of it, but it's going to do 95% of it. And then leaving that last bit to understand the nuance of what people hear. But it gives a new employee, someone that's only been doing this a month, can leverage from the benefits of our employees that have been here decades, right? By building these sort of generative AI templates that can consume information from a video call like this, information from the phone call, just audio, and then provide that sort of baseline to generate the summary. So that's how we're using Gen AI.
Yeah, I can think also of other examples where you could use Gen AI to summarize your customer plans, customer success plans, right? When you have objectives, goals, actions, obviously you're gaining a lot of information from the account that you're working on. And maybe you need somehow to summarize all these objectives for you, as opposed to doing it in a more traditional way.
Even an estimate or a services estimate is another great example where you can leverage Gen AI again to get that baseline. Do the hard work so that you can leaving you more time for the smart work.
Correct. What about you, Stephen? What sort of examples do you see where Gen AI is applicable to a PSO?
Yeah, I mean, numerous. I mean, I think rather than sitting here listing off examples, right? I think Gen AI is targeted to remove low value tasks, right? Just like Joe said, like, let's do smart work rather than repetitive work, right? Not so much impactful work, what I call low value tasks, right? Summaries, replying to customers, making a request internally for a resource, right? Even if it's as simple as just asking maybe a co-pilot type of AI or an assistant, like, hey, where can I find this information, right? Like that search bar, it's now interactive, right? Just asking the AI to go look at things for you. So I think people are going through this paradigm shift of removing these low value tasks, focusing much more on impact to business, value, growth, scalability, and things that I think people enjoy doing more so. I think AI is freeing up our time, and there are so many use cases within a PSO to identify some of these low value tasks.
Excellent. All right, which brings us now to the second poll of this session, and you'll see the questions momentarily. And let's see if we have it on the screen. It's going to be, there you go. It's coming soon, folks.
Yeah, sorry. Poll number one, I was sharing the results and it's not going to the second one. So we may have to go on with
Okay,
the
no,
next question. I apologize. I don't know why we're having technology issues today. We never have problems with our polls, and today we're having them.
no worries. So the second poll, I'm going to ask it for everyone, and if you don't mind, just respond back in the chat. So the question is, do you have an existing AI initiative at the moment in your professional services organization? So I'm just going to repeat, do you have an existing AI initiative at your PSO today? Just answer with yes or no in the chat. So we'll give everyone 30 seconds or so to respond. And think of your day-to-day job and whether someone has reached out to you for meetings to discuss your requirements for AI. Think about any sort of announcements that happened within your organization. Are there any initiatives in place or not? And
I think chat might be suppressed, so I see people doing it in the Q&A.
Yeah. So I see here there's a bunch of answers. We got actually majority are saying yes. That's actually great to hear. Okay. Good. So we have a mixed set of responses, which is expected, by the way. Some do have initiatives, others do not. And this is expected in this day and age, obviously, given the fact that there's a lot of hype around AI and there are a lot of push for it. Which brings us to our next topic, and thank you for your responses, everyone. Which brings us now to the next topic, which is what is required for AI to succeed in your PSO? And talking about what needs what we need to do here, or what we need to discuss here, is you need, as a PSO, you need a plan and a strategy in place before you delve into using any AI tool. And as I indicated before, we as a company, as the Absolute, we are doing exactly that. We're going through discussing the objectives and the goals of using AI internally. Certinia has already took that, or has already taken that initiative, and they identified what sort of strategy and goals they want to achieve. So I guess, Joe, from your perspective, can you give us a little bit more details about what sort of strategy that Certinia is following today in order to implement AI?
Sure. Our strategy, it's simple. We're taking a very practical and pragmatic approach. I've seen, we probably all have seen what I call the science fair approach to AI. Hey, I'm interested in doing an AI project because it's good for my resume, or I'm bored at work. It doesn't have a tangible business value to it. So from our standpoint, having a couple things in mind around data quality, making sure you've got your data set correct, an understanding of the object model, right? Hey, make sure that people understand how these models work together, and an open mind. You're going to get some insights that might be uncomfortable, and you might have to dig in a little more to find out more information. But ultimately, having those three things together in conjunction with a tangible business case, I think, is core to certainly Certinia's strategy, and should be core, excuse me, to anyone's implementation of AI.
Stuff. And so this is the Certinia perspective. What about moving on now with Stephen to talk about overall, right? When you look at various companies, when you look at the marketplace, what sort of strategies PSO should follow or should implement internally, Stephen?
Yeah, I think this graphic kind of mentions it quite well, right? As Joe mentioned, good data, building your data model, that's extremely important. But getting the right people, I think, is equally as important, right? Some sort of steering committee, a board, some sort of project management team, project team, if at that, right? This is equally important. It's going to take some time. So having people dedicated to this, spending some of their day, some of their bandwidth, to plan for this, coordinate, set up a business case, as Joe mentioned. These are all very, very important things, especially early on, right? I think planning makes a perfect execution. And so really taking the time to plan this out, I think is critical, right? And it might take more time than other initiatives and other projects, right? Because this is new on the market. You might be a pioneer in this space. And so, you know, advocating for that risk, ensuring that, you know, it's managed. Like I mentioned before, starting small. I think these are all equally as important from a technical business case, as well as the people supporting it. And then as you get on this journey, you know, measure. How are you going to measure the success? I think analytics is supremely important, right? Making sure that you have the right analytics and reports and just metrics, KPIs, business measures to monitor and measure success. I think that's important, right? Having an end goal is needed to then measure how close are we, right? How far off are we? Where do we need to deviate? You know, what changes to the plan do we have to make? And lastly, there are so many tools, right? I mean, Certinia is great. They are definitely a pioneer in the space. Surely so is Salesforce with a lot of their tools that they've released, you know, the Einstein One platform, GPT Copilot in that regard. So go look and explore some of these tools that might give you a fast start, that might have done, you know, 50, 60, 75% of the work for you, and start leveraging that for your business growth and for your business use case. So really it's about planning from a technical standpoint, making sure that plan incorporates a team or a steering committee, right? Then how do we measure our success and how do we measure our progress in our initiative? And lastly, just to accelerate and to use latest technologies to help bolster and supplement whatever plan and growth initiative we're looking for from an AR perspective.
And that's you know, I totally agree with you, Stephen. I mean, it's very important, right? Strategy comes first. And I think we've emphasized on that point throughout this session, and you will hear it even after. But it's very important for everyone on the call here is that before you delve into AI and tools and technology, you need to build a strategy around it. Which brings us to our third poll, where I'm going to raise the question here. So the question to you all, who is driving the initiative or AI initiatives in your org? Is it IT, business users, executives, a combination of all of the above, or some other department? Let's take the next 30 seconds to respond to that question in the Q&A section. So I'm just going to repeat. The question is, who's driving AI initiative in your organization, in your PSO? Is it IT, business users, executives, or maybe all of the above, or could be someone else? So I see here some of the answers are trickling in. That's actually an interesting answer. Finance was one of the answers.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised by how finance requires AI within their department because of the heavy reliance on processes and whatnot. I see
in
here,
many cases, finance is the most analytically savvy
correct.
organization, right? They have nicely organized data, and if they get the data wrong, there are tangible business consequences,
Yeah.
right? So
well, it hits the bottom line. So, you know, they have to make sure, you know, their analytics and are in line with the expectations from a revenue perspective.
yeah, this is a really interesting set of answers. We're getting some of everything, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of tells you about the ubiquitous nature and interest in AI.
Yeah, I can see here also. So business users, obviously, executives, pretty common. But yeah, I think we have finance. We also have leaders of all levels, and there's also an example coming from service portfolio. Are we expecting any more answers? Let me see just here. And yeah, there's a comment here which I agree with. There are misconceptions around reducing costs with finance. Obviously, that's one of their drivers. So yeah, so you can see that multiple departments, multiple divisions within an organization are driving for AI for one reason or another. There are different drivers, there are business needs, but at the end of the day, everyone is looking to optimize their business processes one way or another. Which brings us now to the final section of our session. We're going to talk about use cases. So what use cases does a PSO, professional services organization, have with AI? And we'll go through a couple of examples here. In the next slide, Joe will talk to us about how Certinia can help with that aspect. Joe?
Yeah, so we're in we've gone, as I mentioned, we alpha everything on ourselves. We have a great set of early adopters that are leveraging our summer release, which includes AI use cases. I think there's been a great article in Diginomica focused on jellyfish, which is one of our early adopters. I can't speak to the others, but that one is at least publicly announced. Jellyfish is a marketing uh, professional services organization. So they help organizations with their digital strategies, their marketing mix, that sort of piece. They are leveraged all of the next use cases that we've seen here. But these are the initial ones that we've built out for professional services organizations. First one's on schedule variance, right? How quickly can I get my project staffed and scheduled? So you're seeing there, what we try to do is embed this right at the moment of impact. So put it right on the project record itself and show me what are activities that are taking place. Some of it's geography, some of it's people, some of it's the type of project. You know, is it time and materials? Is it does it require specific skill sets? At its default, it shows 5 positive and suggested improvements, but we're looking at 30 to 40 different metrics or measures that give you that overall variance score in our use of the Einstein discovery technology. Yeah, the next one that we have is around margin. And I guess I didn't fix the title on that slide. So that one's basically improving margin. Same idea here, right? I'm going to sit there and put this right at the project level where I'm going to figure out what are pieces that are, what's my predicted margin and what are things that I can do. And again, sometimes you're going to see people's names. You're going to see things there. Is it good or bad? I don't know. It's Samantha Lewis might be a more experienced person that we have, and I may need her in specifically for this type of project in a particular industry. I'm going to have a margin implication to it, but I may have a positive customer satisfaction impact to it. So these are all, we're trying to give people information. We're trying to give them tools and levers, but we're never going to replace that human insight. And I can give you an example of this around the first time we ran this technology internally. We saw things around a particular customer support manager. And every time their name came up, there seemed to be a higher chance of customer churn. And when we brought this to the manager's attention, they started laughing. They said, "That's my best CSM." What do you mean? That's the person I put on accounts, on every one of my red accounts. If I think there's a 90% chance of churn, I put, and this isn't their actual name, but I put Kathy on that account. And so if Kathy can move the chance of churn from 90% to 50%, Kathy's a hero. Now, just AI, just looking at the numbers, AI doesn't have that insight of knowing that Kathy's always assigned. So AI is just, it's a complement to human decision making. It should not be a replacement. Let's go to the last one. And that one's really around win rate. And again, so what are we trying to do here? Here I'm embedding it right on the project estimate. So before you actually even win the deal, what's my win rate? What are my chances? And the thing that I love about this is we all know, hey, if I cut my rate 50%, I'm probably going to get a higher chance of winning. But that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make business sense. I can see here where look at the improvement range it's offering down at the bottom in that lower right. It's not saying 50% or 30%. it's giving a range by, if I increase the discount to between 10.8 and 11.5, that's a pretty tight band to get a 16% improvement in win rate. That's the kind of insight that no human, no spreadsheet, no just straight BI tools can be able to do, because it's not going to be able to look at the preponderance of data, the variety and velocity of data to be able to make that decision. So we're pretty proud of what we've built out. We're testing it with commercially sized customers, enterprise type customers, customers that own analytics technologies, customers that are analytics companies. So we're getting a wide range of insights and models. And the one thing that we do is we don't provide a model based on 1,000 customers. We provide a model framework, an open model, but it gets trained off of your data, because what a retail company does is different than a professional services company. And what a professional services company that focuses on government or on a particular ecosystem does is different than a professional services company that does cybersecurity. So it's going to take your data, the biases within your data, and leverage that to show you where you can succeed and where you can get benefit. And that's a slightly different approach than other companies I've seen have taken. For us, it's practical because it wants to take people's data.
And these are excellent examples, Joe, and thank you for sharing those. And as a matter of fact, there are much more than that. We'll discuss that later on, but these are great use cases where you can utilize AI to perform both descriptive and predictive. And now let's switch to Stephen to talk about a public use case that Salesforce has communicated in a lot of channels. Stephen, would you want to, take the opportunity to talk to us about Salesforce and this use case?
Yeah, so the use case we have here is for Air India. I mean, firstly, just talking broadly, there are many customers that are engaged in AI, right? They are pioneering, they are the cutting edge. Not too many when you use your Google and your internet searching skills, because they're in flight, right? They're being worked on. Some of these companies are keeping them very close to their chest. But don't be surprised if 6 months, 12 months, 18 months from now, you're going to get these explosive headlines of all these companies, leveraging AI for various feats. Taking a look at this one, I mean, Air India, they want to transform. They want to become a market leader. They want to just change the entire experience of air travel as consumers. I think about airlines and things like Singapore Air, Emirates, Air France. I mean, these are some of the best airlines in the world for their service, right? That's from booking to the airport to in the sky, right? The service is amazing. And that's really where Air India is taking inspiration from. They are now seeing every single touch point with the customer, with the consumer, as an opportunity, right? Whether that's at the customer's home while they're booking their flights, preparing their itinerary, as they come to the airport, right? Lounges, going to their gates, speaking with Air India personnel, and of course, in the flight as well. So every chance is a chance for them to increase that experience, log some data, make some predictions, generate some content, and all in all, gather a lot of analytics and descriptive data for Air India, right? Their goal, their vision with all of this is to transform, right? It's to curate personalized experiences. I think as a consumer myself, I mean, the more personal things can be, the more willing I am to buy that, right? Or increase my brand loyalty or build brand loyalty around that. So that notion of a personalized experience becomes extremely, extremely important. And really, there is a lot here that Air India is taking on, and I think this will take some time. I'm very happy that they've come public with this. And I think, a lot of residents in India are probably happy as well, because growing population, right? I mean, that is clearly a driver for them. They want to become a top airline, not only because of the populace, but because, I think they're need to meet the market standards that people are facing nowadays in air travel, especially after, the pandemic and some of the aftermath that happened there with customer experience. But really, last thing I'll say is, like Joe mentioned, you're a small business, you're a commercial business, you're an enterprise business. There's always going to be something that AI can help facilitate, augment, enhance, within your space. So just take the time to plan, put a strategy up forth, and action it, right? Execute. Get there. Maybe start in the shallow end, maybe not the deep end, but get in the water. And I think that's where you're going to get your benefit.
Perfect. So these are great examples, and I think in the next we're going to see even more examples or use cases where you could use descriptive, prescriptive, and generative AI. I don't know, Stephen, Joe, you want to chime in on, pick on one of these and talk about, because I think those are extremely important as well, especially for a PSO organization.
Stephen, go ahead.
All three, right?
Yeah.
Just think about maybe a use case that can build upon all three, right? Descriptive is your data. Prediction is making your data work for you, adding context, adding value, adding meaning. And I think generative AI is just a fancy way to just surface all this, right? Whether it's as simple as a case reply, right? Get some case replies, get some replies in the back end with data. Predict when that reply can be used. Is it used more in a churn situation, or is it used more in a, hey, I want to increase CSAT, or this is how I want to treat my VIP customers? And then action it. Just have, the generative content, push it out and be like, hey, Mr.'s customer, like, thank you for your service. We appreciate it, whatever it is. Just try to understand that all three have synergy, right? You could definitely build a use case in just one of them, but don't narrow yourself. I think there is tremendous value in each, and they definitely do follow each other and build, this iterative approach with AI. Joe?
Yeah, I'd say pick something urgent, important, and impactful. And it's depends on what, for some companies that might be utilization. For some companies that might be margin. For some companies that might be new markets, right? Or figure out what is my ICP, right? Because we all have limited resources. Where should I be spending my time, my limited time and efforts? But pick something that's important to you, and pick something that you've got a lot of data around, because it can be important. If you don't have any data, AI is not going to be able to tell you anything. So that would be my advice. And I think, as Stephen said, there's opportunities in each and every one of these, but only you can decide what's important to your company. The other thing I'd add, don't do this alone. So you can decide what's important to you, but partner with somebody, right? Whether it's a technology vendor, whether it's a systems integrator or consulting, do it with someone that's done it before. Because the first time you do this, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to go down rat holes that could derail your whole project. And why bother doing that? Do it right from the first time, or at least set yourself up for success. And the best way to do that is to partner. We've seen all these times of people, I'm just going to grab an open source model and I'm going to start playing with it. And oops, I've exposed all my data to ChatGPT. Oops, I have created a monstrosity within my company that can't be supported. Oops, someone's gotten totally rogue and is doing something different than what the company wants to do. Avoid those. Try to succeed.
And that brings us to an important aspect of AI, which is it's not just about the data or strategy as well. There's the ethical, the ethical aspect of AI. You as an organization, as a PSO, you have to make sure that the data that you are using, whether for predictive, descriptive, or generative, it's protected, it's secured. You have to make sure that you're using the data in an ethical fashion. You don't want to use sensitive data in a manner that would expose you both legally and operationally. So you want to make sure that not only you have the strategy in place, not only you have the right tools, but also you are ethical about how you use that data in an AI environment. And with that, I would like to thank Joe and Stephen for their time today and for this discussion. And I hope that the audience benefited from it. Obviously, this is a journey. It doesn't end with one or two or three sessions. It's a journey that we all go through. As a matter of fact, and as you've seen with today's session, it's a journey that even Certinia and the Absolute are going through.
Yep.
And it's a non-stop journey. So keep learning, engage the right partners, put a strategy in place, have good, clean data, and let's move the discussion. And with that, I'll pass it back to Erica.
Great, thank you very much. So, I mean, this is the part where it leads us into the Q&A. So we do have some questions here that I'd like to, I guess, read out loud and then let one of you answer, or a couple of you answer at the same time. We're facing internal resistance to embracing AI strategies. How can we effectively address our stakeholders' concerns and pave the way for a successful adoption? I don't know, Joe, maybe you want to take this and start it off?
Sure. I mean, I can start this. There's always going to be naysayers. So to me, I think the most important thing is to actually actively engage with them and pick something important to them. If it's important to them, they're not going to naysay, right? And that's where you pick something that isn't a science fair project. You pick something that has tangible business benefits. Understand their concerns, because their concerns can be valid. And this is another example where you partner, right? Because we've heard these concerns before. The Absolute has heard these concerns before. Partner with someone that's been there before to be able to address those answers. That'd be my advice.
Yeah, I would just say, you know, if there are some naysayers, there's valid reason for them. Hear them out, just like Joe is saying. And a lot of the times, you know, it's impact, it's risk, it's, you know, affecting the top or the bottom line. So figuring out, you know, how to mitigate that risk, right? Starting small, planning, having a steering committee, like I mentioned before. These are important facets to have this become more collaborative rather than more like a battle, right? Of attack and
Right.
defense.
This
Definitely.
isn't something that should be done to people. And because
Yeah.
there's a lot of fear around AI, right? It's going to take my job. Well, no.
Yeah.
I like to tell, I mean, I get on my soapbox about AI. So fortunately, there's only a couple minutes left. I don't like the term artificial intelligence. I like augmented insight.
I
Don't
agree.
treat AI like the Terminator. Treat it like Tony Stark's Iron Man suit. Tony is a handsome, smart, rich guy, right? He can do a lot of things by himself, but what he can't do is fly, and he can't shoot lasers out of his hands unless he gets the suit. And that's what AI does. AI can take you as a human being and let you do things that you could not do, consume volumes of data you could not look at, visualize data in a variety and velocity that you can't do as a human. Augment your insight. Don't replace your decision making. And if people understand it from that standpoint, it doesn't become the Terminator. It becomes a tool that makes their lives better.
Perspective is
100%.
everything.
100%.
Wow, very well said. I guess that leads us to our second question. So we had two questions. You may have answered it in slightly, but we're hesitant about adopting AI in the near future. Are there gradual steps or low effort approaches to ease into the AI integration? Stephen, do you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, right? There's so much buzz in the news, right? Companies doing huge things, like I mentioned with Air India, but it's not for everyone, right? Start small, right? Like we're saying, like talk to your vendors, talk to your SIs, you know, get from them what others are doing, right? And try to build what makes sense to you from what you're hearing, right? You don't have to follow, although a lot of people might take that approach to be more risk adverse, right? I think being a pioneer is equal risk, right? Whether you follow someone, what if that data doesn't work for you? What if that model, that approach doesn't work for you? I think that's major risk. So thinking about what is important to you, like Joe said, right? Finding that business case, starting with the small group of people, right? Do a pilot, do a proof of concept, right? Take a little bit of a capital budget and set it aside for AI initiatives. I think the best thing you can really do right now is start planning and start talking to people. I think the R&D phase is over. Like there's so much on the net, on the news, that so many people are sharing. I think that's starting to create noise in the space, right? I think it's time to make it more personalized and more, meaningful for what you as an organization and honestly you as an individual are looking for as well. So really just talk, share, right? Make a steering committee, gather people who are like-minded around you, and don't feel like you're in this alone, right? And don't feel like you have to move mountains. There are many small hills that you could probably trample over with ease. Joe, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it great, but I would just, to summarize, lean on your application vendor, right?
Yeah.
You've already got apps in play. Understand what their AI roadmap is, right? Make them do the heavy lifting for you, because each and every one should be doing something. These are the core to your business processes, right? This is the instantiation of your business processes. And if your application vendor isn't building AI into optimizing those processes, you might want to look at different application vendors. So
That's for sure.
it's
Well
very
said.
much, yeah, lean on the technologists. This is their job. They're supposed to make your life better. Don't try to do this all by yourself.
100%.
Well, I guess we have 2 minutes left, so that's really where we're gonna end this so that we could give back people their time on their lunch hour if they're in the eastern section of the country. I'd like to thank all of you guys, really honestly, Sam, Stephen, Joe, and all of our attendees for participating in today's webinar. We hope that you enjoyed this session. Just so you know, we will be sharing this out within the next 24 to 48 hours by email. So you'll have a recording. And as always, if you need any help, advice, questions answered, do not hesitate to reach out to either ourselves or Joe. You can, in the email, you'll have our contact information. If the questions for Certinia, we'll pass it on. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Thanks.
Take care.